gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the Scott Garrett Show. Today's show is titled Success. Who do you owe it to? Now, I'm doing this show in response to a few things I've seen on YouTube and heard in other places. The myth that you owe your personal success to anyone. I think if you look at it, we're often taught that a person who is successful because of something or someone or some advantage that they had in their life, anything other than their own hard work. My question is this: if someone has made you successful, are they successful themselves? And if you can't answer yes to that question, then how does someone make you something that they are not themselves? And if you can make someone successful, wouldn't you make everyone around you successful? If you're a parent, you wouldn't have one successful child. You'd have all successful children if you truly make a person successful. What you have is people who go through life thinking that they have not received something that someone else has received, and had they received that, then they would enjoy the same type of success as someone else. And we tend to think of success as being some big movie star, some rap star, or a huge politician, or even the president. Those things are levels of success. But success has levels. Everybody's success isn't going to look the same. You have to understand what you consider successful. And that is something that's totally individualized. It's not something that's cookie cutter. People think that money equals success. Money does not equal success. Money is the byproduct of success. It doesn't equal success. For an example, if I go and win the lotto for $200 million today, am I any more successful than I was yesterday? No, but I've got a lot more money, but I'm no more successful. Now, if I get $200 million, I'll make that $200 million work for me, and I won't spend that money recklessly, loosely, and I won't spend that money trying to fill holes that you can't fill with money. And that's what ends up happening to a lot of people, is they work very hard, and they come from the most humble beginnings, and they attain a level of success that gives them a lot of money. But that can be a very, very, very painful realization when you realize, when I wasn't successful, I had a whole list of things that I thought would make me successful. I've attained the fame that I've always wanted. I've attained the adulation from the fans. I've got all the money I want. All the material possessions that I thought I needed to be successful. I've got all that. Then why do I still feel the same way? Why do I still feel inadequate? Why am I still insecure? Why do I still have all the same issues that I had before I had everything that I thought I needed to be successful? It's very simple. Money will never fill emotional holes in a person. Money will never make you feel better about yourself. People will never make you feel better about yourself. The only thing that can do that is for you to look inside and realize all the things that you've overcome to be successful. People talk about someone forgetting where they came from. If you came from a traumatic upbringing, then it's good that you forget that traumatic upbringing. And it's not healthy for you to have people around you that want to keep trying to make you think about the upbringing you had that wasn't the greatest. That's not a healthy thing. Successful people, truly successful people, they're concentrating on the future and not the past. But what you'll find is when somebody gets a level of success, other people around them or people who knew them back when will always try to take you back 25 years to when that person was a thief, or tell you about how many babies daddy that so-and-so had. All these things that do nothing except mar people and hate. And those people who are around you who do that, those people will never be successful. People think that Giving back means I'm going to be successful. I'm going to rise from the same place you rose from, the same projects, the same neighborhood, and or in places like that. I'm going to rise from that, from the ashes of that. And once I rise from the ashes of that, while being surrounded by all the same circumstances as everybody who chose not to rise from that, then I'm automatically responsible to come back and give everybody else the byproduct of my success, which is money. People, they don't want you to give back, because giving back is something more than money. You give back your time. You give back an inspiration. You become an inspiration to other people. There's no person in the world that has enough money to make the people who they grew up with successful around them. Because success is something that has to come from in you. And it's much easier to become successful coming from nothing than it is having things. People will say that's absolutely absurd. Let me explain. A person that comes from nothing has nothing to lose. Everything is a come up for that person. The person who has things and has comfort, you don't want to lose that comfort. And the thought of losing that comfort on a risk is more than most people who live a comfortable life are willing to take. But when you don't have anything, you don't have that fear. You can go out and you can make it happen because you're hungry. If you grow up in a family where there's, you have two parents, both working, good relationship, both educated, both loving, you would define success much different. And success is, and huge success is much more difficult because there are impediments to that success that you have, and the biggest impediment is comfort. You grew up in comfort. People who have a lot of success and then they have kids, they often complain about their kids not doing this and their kids not doing that, and their kids aren't hungry like they were. So they try to manufacture hunger in their kids. And it never works because you're creating false examples and false situations for your kid to be in where they know that they're not really at risk. And they shouldn't be at risk. You can't, or you shouldn't want to, you can, but you shouldn't want to have someone, especially your children, go through the things that you went through. It's my job as a parent to make sure that the life of my kids is much easier than the life that I had. And if that's an advantage, then so be it. It should be an advantage. And that's my role, is to give my kids every advantage that I can for them to be successful. I don't want them to start at A when they can start at Q. I want my kids to have every opportunity to be successful. And I got to put in work to make that happen. And I want them to be able to live off all of the mistakes I made and all the work that I put in and all the trauma that I saw in my life. I don't want them to have that trauma. I want them to have the easiest life as possible. And that's my role as a parent, not to try to make them struggle. What happens is, and what happened at some point in history, especially in the black community, is there was a time where you had wildly successful people, Joe Louis and people like that. They were able to be amongst the people. They could freely come and go to the clubs, and they could do all the things that anybody else did because they were looked at as an inspiration. That person is here. I know where they came from, and they serve as an inspiration to everybody who was here and everybody who comes from that background. But at some point, what happened is the view of children changed. Children back then, children were a prized commodity. Children were hope. They exemplified hope. Your children meant that at some point, maybe not in my lifetime, but if I put the right things in these kids and I do the best that I can, that they'll prosper, or their kids' kids will prosper. And that was a time when education was first and foremost, because people realized, first of all, I've got to make sure my kids are educated. And if my kids are educated, then that puts them a leg above me, their parent who was not educated. So your parent that could not read made sure that you could read. Then there was a shift when children stopped being a prized commodity and something cherished, and they started to become something that could be used. And when people got to a point where they didn't care what they exposed kids to, they made kids part of the criminal behavior, and they made kids grow up too fast, and all those things, that's where the deterioration, especially in the black community, started. When I grew up 40 some odd years ago, I remember going to the corner store, and you saw pimps, and you saw drug dealers, you saw all those people. But the one thing that they never did, they never glorified it at all. We'd go by the store, 5 or 6 of us, there'd be a big drug dealer parked out in front of the store. He would say, "Come on over here, let me talk to y'all." And he would say things like, "Look, I see you looking at my car and looking at my women and all those things, but I'm going to tell you something. I don't ever want to see you doing what I do." And to us, it didn't make any sense, because you look like you're having all the fun in the world. You got money, and we can see that. You got jewelry, mink coats. You got the best Cadillac, and you're driving a Benz. So why wouldn't I want that? They didn't glorify it. They told us, I got this stuff because this is what I had to do to get it. They explained what they had to do to get it. They explained the pain. They explained how many times they've been in prison. And then they said, now after going to prison many times, this is all I have. And I don't want that for you. I don't sleep at night. You may see out here what looks flashy and looks good, but this is not what the real life is. The life is not sleeping. The life is you constantly in fear. You're wondering what's going to happen tomorrow. That's not what I want from you or for you. So they gave us a few dollars and sent us on our way. Now, they gave back. The money was not what they gave back. They gave back the knowledge for us to not take this road and not let anybody fool us into thinking that we should take that road.